Welcome to the Horror Next Door. If you're new here, the Jason Unmasked series is a series of videos that I made discussing the films where Jason's face was not revealed to the audience. For whatever reason, the filmmakers decided not to show Jason's face in certain films, although his face has been shown in countless others. As of right now, there are 4 videos covering 4 different films in the franchise. Go check them out if you haven't already. There will be a link to the playlist down below. If there ever happens to be a new Jason film and they don't show his face, there will be a part 5 in that series. But for now, I thought it would be fun to read some of your comments and see what you all thought would have been a great place for a Jason face reveal. In this video, I'm going to be covering some comments that pertain to Jason Goes to Hell. If you remember in my video covering that film, I said that I thought it would have been neat if when Jason gets reborn near the end of the movie, when he pops up through the floorboards, it would have been cool if he came up with no mask on. Then, before him and Steve break through the glass, he can secure his mask from Duke. However, a good majority of you that left comments had a completely different idea, and I'll admit, as much as I hate the idea of Jason popping up through those floorboards with his mask on, your ideas might actually be a tad better than mine. The idea that everyone seems to keep suggesting in the comments is that Jason should have had his mask removed during the sequence when the demon arms are pulling him to hell. One of the arms could have removed his mask, be it by pure accident or intentionally. It doesn't really matter. Then, moments later, when Jason pops up one last time to try to grab Steve in an attempt to save himself from being dragged to hell, or perhaps to try to pull Steve down with him, this particular moment would have been the spot where his face would have been seen in all its glory to the audience. I love this idea, especially the spot where Jason pops up one last time and grabs Steve. I agree with all of you that it would have been a great face-revealing moment for the film, perhaps even a slow motion moment as well as he pops up. One user even took things a bit further, suggesting that with Jason's mask being so fused to his face in Jason Goes to Hell, that perhaps when one of the demon arms removes his mask, it would have been a gory spectacle, as the mask would remove some of Jason's flesh in the process as it revealed his face to the audience. I absolutely love this gorier approach to the idea. If you've ever seen the unrated version of Jason Goes to Hell, the movie has some very brutal special effects, so a sequence like this would have fit right into the film for sure. And I agree with you that it would have been one hell of a scene to watch, even to this day. No pun intended, I'm sure. Ripping Jason's mask off in this fashion would have definitely set it apart from other face reveals in the franchise. Also, removing the mask in this gorier fashion would even explain the exposed skull bone that most sculpts of Jason from Jason Goes to Hell always seem to have. The chunk of flesh that is peeled from Jason's skull when his mask is ripped from his face would have created this exposed skull bone look. Not only would we have gotten this brutal special effects moment of Jason's mask being torn from his face, but afterwards, when Jason pops up one more time to grab Steve, we would have gotten one more look at his disgusting face before he's pulled to hell. Perhaps the mask being ripped from his face could have even been in slow motion, and then when he pops up, it's in real time. But either way, it would have been awesome to see. The other thing about this idea of the demon arms removing his mask is that this would totally explain why Jason's mask is lying on the ground at the end of the film for Freddy to grab and pull to hell. The way the film ends now, the last shot you see of Jason is the top of his head going underneath the dirt, and you can clearly see that his mask is still on. But then, just moments later, his mask is lying in the dirt for a dog to expose, and then Freddy to grab. How did his mask come off? How did it get on top of the ground and not buried in the dirt on his way to hell? If you think about it too much, it really doesn't make sense. But If the demon arms had removed it when they were pulling Jason to hell, it would explain how it got in the position it ended up in. I think if they had done a Jason face reveal during the demon arm sequence like you all suggested, they could have even shown a little insert shot of Jason's mask being thrown to the ground and landing in that spot. Then, at the end of the film, when the camera slowly moves in on it, we would have known how it got there. Then bam! Freddy's glove bursts from the ground, grabs it, and pulls it down. Changing directions, another user suggested that the Jason face reveal in Jason Goes to Hell should have been at the beginning of the film during the autopsy scene. After thinking about this for a while, I came up with two scenarios of how this could have been accomplished. The first idea would have been during the actual autopsy sequence, when the coroner is describing everything he's discovering with Jason's body. After the opening credits finish, he could have removed Jason's mask from his decapitated head, and that is when we get the Jason face reveal. Perhaps he could have even said something smart into his tape recorder after seeing Jason's grotesque face. Something like, "He has a face only a mother could have loved." Then, he could have simply put the mask back over Jason's face when he was finished, just to not see it anymore. The second idea I thought of would have been when the assistant coroner comes into the room. Now, if you remember, the main coroner is already possessed by Jason at this point. After the assistant comes into the room, he says how it's an amazing opportunity to say whatever he wants to Jason Voorhees, and proceeds to say some vulgar insults to Jason's corpse. In my idea, instead of the assistant staying in his chair and continuing his obscenities, what if he walked over to Jason's body, picked up the decapitated head, and removed Jason's mask? After doing so, he could have still said his line of how he wanted to take a crap right on his mask. This would have given us a face reveal, and with some cuts to the possessed coroner, could have even conveyed even more how pissed off Jason was. Also, instead of moving the assistant over to the table and killing him, the assistant would have already been at the table. The possessed coroner could have simply tossed the limbs of Jason's corpse to the side, slammed the assistant down on the table, and killed him. Either way, as you said in your comment, this would have been extremely different from the norm, which I completely agree with. Either one of these ideas that I came up with based on your comment would have worked. But perhaps the version with the main coroner removing Jason's mask would have been a better pick. I say this because maybe the main coroner removing Jason's mask could have been the precursor for him eating Jason's heart, and maybe in some small way could have explained why he did it. They could have implied that touching and removing Jason's mask somehow compelled him. They could have done this with a simple music cue when he touched the mask, or perhaps even with some smaller versions of those lights that we see go into the coroner's chest after he eats Jason's heart. Maybe when he removes Jason's mask, some smaller lights shoot off of his mask or his severed head and into the coroner's hand. He could react slightly, but shrug it off. Then we all know what comes next. Just an idea. Well, that is all for now. If your comment appeared in this video, thank you so much for the ideas, and thank you to everyone who has watched, commented, and enjoyed my Jason Unmasked videos. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I will probably eventually do more videos just like this one, so keep the comments and ideas coming. Happy Friday the 13th.